the minority here.
Well,
so that's fine.
Back in your old day, like Texas A&M, Texas, that after Thanksgiving game, give me an NFL rivalry that matches up with that sort of intensity.
With which game?
Texas A&M, Texas.
Oh, that has that sort of intensity in the NFL?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I would say there are probably years when both teams are good, and that's the same thing with A&M Texas. If you're not a fan, I mean, if you didn't go to either schools, you're not a fan of either one. I don't think that a mediocre Texas and Texas A&M or a really good one or the other is going to make that intriguing of a game.
Well, you got to think in the NFL too. It's about what fan base you're in, because everyone talks about Pittsburgh and Baltimore being the best rivalry in the NFL. But if you're not part of it, it's just kind of like, okay, whatever. Just two division teams.
That's fine, but I mean, the fan bases are really the ones who care the most about rivalries. And for me, I care a lot more about an NFL rivalry than I do a college rivalry. It just is what it is. I have been marketed to by the NFL, I guess, better than the college football.
I want it now. I want the whole thing. NFL now. I don't know. It's definitely LOL sample size, but it does seem that a lot of the primetime games this year have been just unwatchable blowouts. And in college football, you'll see it is a lot high scoring, especially if they get into overtime. But even just like Auburn, Texas A&M, the other day, that was supposed to be a blowout. Then it turned into one of the better games of the season, even though Auburn got hosed at the end. But whatevs. I mean, it's going to happen.
Hey, Auburn has taken plenty of games and hosts plenty of other teams, so I don't even want to hear it about Auburn.
Next up, in or out? All right, so just to backtrack, college football is not better than the NFL in your opinion, so you are out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out as well.
That was quick.
I'm going to be out as well because, there's no college football fantasy yet, unless you're a complete degen. Next up, in or out on Bama being favored over any other college football team on a neutral field, according to Las Vegas. Bama.
Then any other? Okay. Neutral field. Ooh.
So Vegas saying Bama, neutral field, be favored over Oregon, over TCU, over Mississippi State, over FSU, yada.
Gosh. Kind of got to believe it, I think. I think I'm in.
I'm in too, because they're not dummies in Vegas. I mean, they built those skyscrapers and hotels for a reason, right?
Right. Yeah. They didn't get rich by making bad predictions.
Although it would be nice to see Saban go off into the sunset with one last national championship.
No, it wouldn't.
No, he is going off into the sunset. That's a tease.
Well, good.
That's another
but I don't
tease.
want him to get a championship on the way. He can suck it. Saban can. You heard me.
No.
Satan, as I like to call him.
Nick Satan. That's original.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in on Bama as well. Next up, increasing the college football playoff from 4 teams to 8 teams. Claire, in or out on that?
Man, I might change my mind after I see it in action because I'm open-minded like that. But at the moment, it feels like 8 teams would be preferable to what feels like a very limited playoff selection. I mean, the options are not that – it's more exciting with a few more spots. You don't want to inundate the system with too many spots, but – yeah, it doesn't need to be 64 or anything crazy, but 8 I think is preferable to a very limited 4 when there's probably going to be a few high-profile contested games at the end of the season where teams are right on the line. And I know teams will still be on the line if they're 8, but that gives you a better chance to prove yourself, and why not?
All right, so you're in for 8.
In.
I'm going to be out because they're technically locked in at 4 for the next decade, but we all know the worth of contracts like that when the NCAA is involved. And I feel like 4 is the perfect number right now because there is hope for, there's 6 teams in the mix as opposed to like 3 or 4 in previous BCS years. And if it opens up to 8, I feel like there will be less prestige given to like these games coming up, like Bama, Mississippi State, games like that. And even a couple weeks ago, Mississippi State, Auburn, and those type of games. Because, if you lose one of these big high-pressure games, then you'd be like, all right, well, we'll just run the table against XYZ opponents, and we'll get in as the 7th seed, and then who knows what can happen. But with the Final Four, there are more seats at the table. but it is still very exclusive, and it's going to be a lot of pressure, especially that team that ends up in the 5-6 spot this year.
Well, it's still a playoff system. It's I mean, the prestige or whatever belongs to whoever wins.
Well, it'd be like if they expand the NCAA tournament to 128 teams.
Which, shut up. That's crazy and stupid, but okay, whatever.
It is crazy because then you'd just be like, all right, we'll just get in. And then the
but
complete
8 is nowhere compared to 128. It's so much smaller.
Well, there's over 300 Division I NCAA basketball teams. There's 112 or 115 Division I NCAA football teams. So it's kind of comparable.
I guess, dude. I don't know.
Guess, dude.
I need to look at it. I need to look at it closer. I overthink these things, and so I need to overthink it before I actually commit to agreeing with you or not.
I'm out. Next one, in or out on NFL Films deciding to air. Carson Palmer mic'd up for his ACL tear, and this was just sad.
Well, if the player is okay with it, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I suppose if he gives the okay, and I'm sure they have to. There's something in their contracts which the NFL has so much minutia in.
If they want to maintain good working relationships with each other, they're going to ask players in these sensitive situations. You would think, is it, hey Carson, just checking, got it on film when you hurt yourself. Is it cool if it's on TV or something? Because otherwise, if he didn't know they were going to put it on there, he probably should have assumed. But
see, the mic'd up thing is so cool too. Like for as far as like injured players, like when Matthew Stafford beat the Browns, I think it's like second or third year with the Lions, where he had a separated shoulder and he was like screaming and yelling the whole time, and then finally quarterback snuck it in for the game-winning touchdown. That was cool, but this one, it just seems sad. Imagine like NFC Championship game last year if Navarro Bowman had been mic'd up. God, that would have been awful. God, that would have been awful. That makes my stomach cringe just thinking about that. But I mean, okay, you feel bad for everybody. At the same time, Carson Palmer is going to have a very nice consolation prize. I know he's a competitor. He wants to play. That's his job and yada, yada. It's like how I felt. I don't mean it's not the same as an injury, but when a player starts doing really poorly and people are like, oh, I kind of feel sorry for him. You know what? He's making a whole crap ton of money. He's making a lot more money than I probably see in my life. So it sucks, but things happen to people. Bad things happen to good people all the time. And so I'm sorry, but it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I'm not that sad about it. Yeah, and these guys do make a ton of money, but it is a trade-off. I mean, being in the public eye, it's not really everyone's thing. And plus, when he was in Cincinnati and people show up at his house when he was about to be traded to the Raiders or was planning to sit out, and people throwing garbage on his lawn and cursing at his wife and kids, there is a trade-off there. But there is. Have to have.
But, and the fact of the matter is going into it, and you have handlers and agents and everybody else who better educate these people on this is what you're getting into. I think that you should be level-headed enough to know on your own, but surely for the people who aren't, they have people who to educate them. So this is a trade-off. You could potentially be a chameleonaire, but you could also lose a lot of your privacy and get a lot of disrespect if you don't perform up to their standards. So I don't know. To me, it's absolutely sorry. I'm sorry that sometimes things suck. And this is what you chose to do. You're compensated handsomely, so you kind of got to suck it up, hide out until people chill or whatever.
All right, so it's a long-winded, roundabout way to asking, are you in or out on NFL Films playing Carson Palmer? I'm in too. I mean, NFL Films is one of the reasons why the NFL is so big, and being mic'd up is pretty awesome. And this is just unfortunate. But moving on, also unfortunate, the new Dallas Cowboys training facility in Frisco, Texas, will be completed in 2016, is called The Star. It has a 12,000-seat event center for some reason, indoor and outdoor practice fields, and an upscale hotel. All this for an NFL freaking team, their training center, in or out on The Star.
I mean, it's whatever, man. It's Jerry Jones's money, and if this is how he wants to spend it, then I guess it's his money, right? It's not like public money.
Nope, it's Jerry, and I got one for Jerry here.
Oh, Oh, good for you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And it just seems nuts that this would be around a practice facility, not the stadium. Not the stadium. We're talking about practice facility.
Obviously, there's profit to be made in this, or else it wouldn't be done. So, I mean, I hate him. He disgusts me, but he's being a businessman, and that's what he's supposed to be doing.
What if Bob McNair says that I'm going to tear down the Astrodome and then put up something similar just like this for my Houston Texans?
Hell yeah, practice in style. I'm down with that. They work really hard. They have to do things that you and I don't have to do, and so I like it when players are treated well. When they're not, it sucks, but they should live with it. But at the same time, if you can treat them better, give them better facilities, and find a way to make it worth your business while, then do it. So I'm in.
I agree. This is the equivalent of the Vikings moving their practice facility at Eden Prairie over to the Mall of America, which is just be a circus.
Oh, okay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Next up, Butch Davis told his UNC players, quote, "If you came here for an education, you should have gone to Harvard," end quote. Butch Davis, of course, was the head coach of the North Carolina football team a couple years back, formerly of the Miami Hurricanes, and now I think he works for the Cowboys. Who knows? But this all after the UNC academic scandal, in or out on his comments to his players?
Out. I mean, if you think that any of these kids' parents probably is okay with that, or at least the majority of these kids' parents are okay with that, I mean, that's just crazy to me. I don't know if this is a word, but I'm making it up. This might be my favorite English word. You're commoditizing. Is that the word? Would that be a word? I don't know.
Commoditizing?
Commoditizing. You're making the kids a commodity, and you're telling them they're a commodity. And you're saying, we don't care if you learn anything. Get your ass out there and play football, and maybe you'll get your shot in the NFL. You know, you one of 100 or whatever kids who play in the college level. But probably not. So, you know, it kind of sickens me.
But does he have a point, though?
No.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys.
Anybody who goes to a school that costs the same amount as Harvard should go to Harvard. I mean, come on. That's stupid.
I don't know, man. I mean, North Carolina's not even that good of a football program, but you know, I think he does have a quasi bit of a point. I mean,
what's the point?
They should be promised a very high quality education, which North Carolina obviously did not pull through. Davis was part of that as well, but you know, these kids are probably getting scholarship offers from Stanford, Harvard, Princeton, etc., and maybe they should have hopped on that train.
Maybe they should have been upfront with them in the beginning and say, look, you're probably not going to get such a great education here, but you know, you will have the opportunity to earn a degree and play football. I mean, why would you word it so awfully? I don't know. It's terrible sounding.
Well, Butch Davis, not really the brightest bulb on the tree. He should have won a national championship down in Miami, but he left in 2000 to coach the Cleveland Browns for some reason, and Larry Coker just comes in, vultures the national title. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, he's gone. Next up, all of the crazy-ass uniforms in college football teams, not just Oregon, not just Maryland, are just rolling out these god-awful, disgusting combinations of who knows what, and in or out on all these uniform combinations.
Man, there's the occasional one where it's cool, but they do things that don't match, I think, for the sake of being provocative, and that pisses me off. And you're on a national stage. You should match. Your colors should match. And A&M has an awful problem with this because their maroon is like almost a purple. It's really deep, and things don't match, and it makes me crazy. But then you'll have things like the American flag thing that Texas Tech did a few weeks ago, and I'm just awful. No, I hate it. I hate it.
You were out, and I agree too. I like the idea of having an alternate, very special occasion one, but schools, even
like Indiana and less prestigious ones, Syracuse, are just rolling out these different ones every week just because I get that